Hey guys, welcome. Hello, I'm Joel Gandara, and thanks for tuning in. Um, Excuse my extreme casual dress. I hope that's okay. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I actually just got off of a cruise this morning, but just got in my house about 30 minutes ago. Um, didn't come home straight from the port. I only live about 30 minutes from the port of Miami, but went to a museum and went to lunch and coffee and that sort of stuff. So just got in right now at 4 o'clock or a few minutes ago. Anyway, so I'm going to get started. But before I do, so sorry that I keep looking away. I have all the questions on the Facebook on my phone, so I keep looking away from that. But I just thought of something as I was reading the questions before I went live. Sometimes I think that people think that when you reach a certain level of success, you've kind of figured everything out, and you haven't. And some of these insecurities that you might have at whatever stage that you're at, I hope you realize those change, but they don't go away completely. And I mean that because, I could be your mentor, I could be someone's mentor, I could be their coach, I could be a consultant, whatever it is. But I have great mentors myself, and they haven't figured everything out. They've had great success. Some of them have had amazing exits of their business and sold them for a ton of money, but they always have doubts, and so just keep that in mind. There's always going to be that in your life. And today they might be this big, and tomorrow you may be making a lot more money, so that doubt's going to get even bigger, and you're going to always question yourself, and you may even think you're an imposter when you really start making a lot of money, because you're going to say, how am I making all this money? Who am I to make all this? Just want to throw that out there. It occurred to me as I was reading your questions. There's always going to be those doubts. So that's a good thing. Realize that you're not alone. All right, so got some really good questions here. I'm going to go through one here. Lalana West, she owns a business where she's conducting an experiment, and you can look through and see the questions I think on there. But Lalana, you're looking at either using the second floor of your business to generate more revenue, or potentially use it for yourself as an apartment, so you can save on rent. To be honest with you, I mean, you'd have to look at the numbers, but I love just the fact that you're thinking about that, because you can see people sometimes spending a lot of money on rent or personal expenses, and they're missing opportunities like that. Just the fact that you've put yourself in a position in life that you're willing to do that, you're able to do it, nothing else is holding you back where you can't do it. I think that's fantastic. I love that way of thinking. If you want to contact me directly, and we can go more in detail on that, because we'd really, but just looking at it on here, I can't see all the details and the numbers. I love that you said you're doing an experiment till December. That's perfect. That's all you can do. You can test and measure it and see what works for you, what works for your money. But I just love that mindset. The way you're doing it is fantastic. You're not just saying, no, that won't work. You're giving it a shot. So that's very good. All right. Let's see. There's a question here that does give numbers, but it's a little more complex. It's from Nancy Vargas, and this one really goes into numbers, but it's a lot. Nancy, I think it's great. I think that would really be something to talk to somebody one-on-one, whether it's myself or Sean or somebody, but that one gets a little more complex. And as much as you and I can nerd out over the numbers, we might bore the people watching it right now if we went into all these numbers, unless that was like a separate thing we set aside and did. So I apologize. I'm not trying to skirt your question, but yeah, that one's a little more complex. Okay, let me read the next one. This is from Jason C. Antonino. Hi, Joel. What's the best advice you'd give someone who's bootstrapping his or her business? I refuse to go into debt again, and my income at my job is dependent on my production level, so I could work extra assignments to earn more money, but it would come at the expense of having less time available for my business. Jason, I totally get that. I was there 100%. And even if your job didn't rely on production, whether it's production or hours, you still have to dedicate all this extra time to make more money. So whether they paid you hourly or told you you'll get more, you're still in the same boat. Because I always had jobs that either same thing. I'd have to be there 10 hours a day to sell more and make more, or I had to work more hours in another job to make more money. Either way, it doesn't matter. If your business can wait temporarily, and I get it, you don't want to go into debt and you want to bootstrap it. That's exactly how I did it. It's not how everybody does it, but that's how I did it. We might have the same belief systems there. What worked for me is I worked like crazy, and I did that for a long time, and I saved all that money. And once you get to that point, the money's going to be there. and then you can either quit your job or lower your effort at the job and start pumping that money into your business, or like I said, entirely quit the job if you want. So I think you're along the right line. Debt to me is scary. It has worked great for many people, and it might for you. But if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But just you don't have to have the business today and the job today both going at the exact same time. It's going to cause this much stress, and if it's not possible. So I highly recommend, if you can, to consider working a lot, selling a lot, doing whatever you got to do at your job, and saving up all that money so then you can go on to your next thing, which is your own business. I do know one thing. You're going to wake up with a lot more fire when it's your business. Every single morning is more rewarding. Everything's a lot more interesting when it's for you. Okay, next one is Robin Turpin. And I'm going in order. This is from July 24th, and then I'll get to the newer ones, including something that just came in right now. All right, so hi Joel, out of curiosity, did you train yourself to trust the process as you developed each business? Thank you for sharing. So let's see. So Robin, you're asking if I trained myself to trust the process as I developed each business. Well, the process for everything that I did initially was me. It was just me doing either what my gut showed me, or here's what happened. My gut would be this, and if it was right, I did more of that. And if my gut was wrong, I did less of that, and I learned from that experience. So I forget how it's said, but you have to make good decisions to be successful. But to be successful, you have to get experience. And how do you get that experience? You have to make bad decisions, right? So you can trust the process, sure, but you always got to just test things and try it out and see if that works for you. That's my biggest recommendation. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to shift I got a text from Sean. Sean is my, I never go live. I never do these things other than for Sean. So he's recommending I don't have light coming from behind, and I should be better at this because this is the second time he tells me this before. I thought the lighting was okay, but thanks for telling me that, Sean. All right. Hopefully this is a little bit better. All right, here we go. Hopefully that lighting is better. Let's see. So that's it, Robin. Let's go to the next question. And this is from Mamita, who also said hi on here right now. Thanks, Mamita. Hi. All right, she asked a few questions, and let me open them up. Give me 1 second. All right, well, there we go. What are your tips for driving your business with a minimum number of employees? Well, for me, that is a goal. Definitely a goal is to have the minimum number of employees, because an employee is just another person, and that's another expense, whether it's a machine or a person. I mean, people are people. I'm not saying they're not worth anything, but if you're trying to make money, and if having 2 people makes you not profitable and having 1 makes you profitable, work on getting 1. So what's worked for me, we've invested in technology. So we've spent probably close to 100, not 100, we've spent close to $1 million in total on technology that eliminates a lot of people, and at the same time, the few people we keep, it's eliminated their errors almost to perfection. Like in our fulfillment business, we haven't had a shipping error in about 3 years, and that's thanks to the technology. We wrote all of that. We employ, we put it in ourselves. It's not out of the box. I wish it would have been out of the box, but anyway, there's a tip. If it could save you money and save mistakes. Another thing we found is when we had in our warehouse, in our office, 11 people running around, there were issues, there was drama, there was always problems. And when we have less people, guess what? Less problems. So that's a good thing. Another question that Mamita is asking is, which operations can be automated in an e-commerce business? Well, for us, it's really fulfillment. We fulfill hundreds of orders a day. We have the potential to fill thousands of orders a day with our same facility, thanks to our technology. That has been our game changer. It saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars that has turned into profit in my pocket. I'm the sole owner of that company that I mentioned. So that's a big one for me, is the fulfillment side of it. Anything else that we can automate. But if we can't automate it, we outsource it. So I use Odesk a lot, not me personally, but our business has used it quite a bit. So whenever we have a function that can be done overseas for really cheap, we do that. That's almost as good as automating. But then if we find a way to automate that process, then even better. We have a technology team that has written a lot of things for us, and so we found a lot of things wherever there's a bottleneck that slows us down or costs us money or frustrates us as in any way, we look for automation. So that we have done, and that could come. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but what stresses you out, what you don't like doing, what's costing you money. Look at that. Just focus on that, and pretty soon you take out all the bad energy, the stuff that's sucking you dry of energy and money, and all of a sudden you've automated those things, and things are better. Let's see. You asked another question. That one's hard to answer on here. That's e-commerce. Do you think that starting several e-commerce businesses is a good idea? Absolutely. I don't know if starting them all at the same time is a good idea, because you might lose focus, you might lose money, or run out of money. I'd pick what you think is going to make you the quickest money or most successful, or whatever you need at your time. Let's see. Oh, I love this question. Top 3 books that have changed my life. I can think right off the bat right now. Number 1, I always recommend is The Secret. I know there's a video, and I've seen the video. That for me, everybody's different. It didn't do much, but the book, which I've read a couple of times, has done a lot for me. It got me thinking very positively. At the time that I read that book, maybe 10 years ago, I was maybe in my business netting $50,000. It wasn't making me much, but now I make over $1 million. So I can't say that I read the book and everything happened on its own, but I feel like that book got me on the right track to multiply my income by 20 times over the last 10 years. And I really credit that book for just getting me thinking differently. So now when I get faced with a potential challenge, I, for the first time, really see it as an opportunity. I used to just let that negative, I feel like everybody has a negative voice here and a positive voice here. And a lot of the times that negative voice wins. Once I started thinking about or working the way The Secret recommends, my positive voice started winning a lot more, and almost to perfection on that, with practice. Second book I'd recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's a great book on how to connect with people. So that's 2. 3, I could probably recommend 30 books as my number 3 book. I don't know if I've mentioned this on here, but a couple months ago I read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I really like that book. I run. I only do half marathons, but I just signed up for my first full marathon, and so I can really relate to that sacrifice, that pounding and running and working out. That applies to everything in life. Just, if you read a book like that, I think it's going to motivate you to work harder in your business, in your physical fitness, in everything. So those are 3 books right there. And tips for an eBay store. We don't sell much on eBay anymore, but that is how I started my business. I started a flea market, got tired of sitting out in the sun, and moved it over to eBay. But that was 15, 16, 17 more. That was like 20 years ago almost, or something like that. So I don't know if my recommendations for eBay would be the best, but with anything, try to sell something unique. Try not to have a commodity. If you're just fighting for a buy box, like on Amazon, where you're selling what everybody else is selling, that's a tough business to be in. I sell my own brands, so that's how I focus on what makes me the most money. All right, Dina Klein, your question is, when you acquired other similar companies, did you always have the cash on hand to buy them, or did you take out loans, get investors, find some other ways of purchasing? Great question. Looks like Dina's in Hawaii because she wrote mahalo. Okay, so I have bought businesses very similar to mine, and she's asking if I use cash to buy them or if I've got any financing or partners. So no partners. Haven't had a partner in my basic apparel, e-commerce, fulfillment. I haven't had a partner in that. I do have a partner in a startup that's a subscription business that hopefully one day I'll tell you guys about it here in detail, but it's just a startup. But I do have a partner because he's an ultra successful guy in the subscription business world. So we're partnering up there. Other than that, so to answer your question, on the businesses I've bought, I have paid them all either with cash or quick loans, and they've been small. So I save, I earn money, and I save it. And that's just what I love to do because it helps me sleep at night. In my 30s, I paid off my house, which it's worth, I don't know, $950,000. Once I paid off my house, I honestly, it sounds crazy, I started sleeping better at night. I started probably sleeping an extra 30 minutes every night. That's a huge amount, I think, to extra, sleep extra when you're only sleeping 6-7 hours. And as my savings has increased very well and my investments, I've slept now I've added an hour and a half every night to my sleep. So for me, for my sanity, that's huge. So I bought these businesses with cash that I've saved, and in an instant where one time I was spread a little thin, I took a home equity line on my home. So let me tell you this about a deal that I did. I bought this business in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, 5 years ago or so, and I paid $250,000. And at that time, I didn't have the cash 100%. So I'm trying to think how I did it. It's $250,000. I took out a loan from my home equity line of 125,000. I gave it to the seller. He financed back to me the other half for $125,000 at no interest. That's great. Other times, you can't always get that, but I got that just because he needed to sell the business. I wanted to buy it, and that's what I told him I could do. And then we had monthly payments for 3 to 5 years, somewhere like that. I'd have to look up the contract. And 3 months later, a pop-up came up in my calendar that said, talk to the seller about paying him off all at once. Because by then I had a lot of cash coming in and I was able to do this. So I reached out to the seller and told him, hey, if you'll take it, I'll give you X amount. Well, that X amount was 40,000 less than I owed him. And he fought me back and said, I'd love to take it, but no, I'll give you a $30,000 discount. And I told him, never mind, I don't have that much. But if you give me a $40,000, I didn't word it in this way, but let's say that I owed him still 110,000. I offered him $70,000. He said, no, I'll take 80 right now. And I said, no, I can't. I can do 70,000. He came right back to me on an email and said, okay, fine, I'll take the 70,000 and you no longer owe me $110,000. So that was a thing of beauty, in my opinion, because I planned it right when we closed. I put it in my calendar, try to pay him off early and see if he'll knock it down. I think that seller got a little nervous that maybe I wasn't going to pay him over the next 3 to 5 years, however long the loan was. And he accepted a much lower deal. So that's where one case where I did get financing, and I'm sharing with you a little bit of details of how I did that deal. So that's it, Dina. That's how I did that. Let's see. Mamita has a question here. She has another. It says, I have another request. I've noticed that all my competitors go to the same wholesale market in Paris. So I'm assuming a wholesale market's like a trade show. Let's see. It makes me sad to see that I have the same products than others. I'm hesitating to go in China for my collections to be one step ahead. I'm not sure that's a good idea because the clothes that I buy in Paris are 95% made in China. Do you recommend any other country? When did you start to design your own pieces? Any tips for a small business that wants to have its own designs? Yeah, I think it's very difficult to sell what everyone else has. That's just that's an escalator that's going down really fast, and you're just running to try to stay in place. You're not different. You're the same as everybody else. Very tough to do because people are going to realize you're just selling what everyone else is. It's all made in China anyway. I manufacture, we have a factory in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia. All our production is what I sell here in the US. So we are 100% of the factory's production. Occasionally there'll be a small client or like an Avon South America will place a big order and we'll do that. But other than that, all the production is what we sell worldwide, goes through our factory in Medellin, Colombia. If you'd like to meet the production team there, just email me. There is, I believe, a free trade agreement with Colombia to Europe, and I know there's one between Colombia and the US. So on all our clothing, all the brands that I own, we don't pay any import duties into the US. And actually, I know there's no import duties into Europe because I own a company in Madrid, Spain, that does the same thing, underwear, swimwear, all that stuff, and we don't pay import duties into Europe either. But yeah, absolutely. I think as soon as you are able to, it's worth getting your own brand and your own tags, your own care label on the back of the product, your own bags, everything that when the person receives your product, they're going to know this is unique and it's special, and they're not just buying from a middleman that gets things in China and sells it to them for a higher price. For that, they can just go to AliExpress or Alibaba and buy their own things. So absolutely, I highly recommend starting your own brand as soon as you're able to. All right, so let's see, Marcel Valle, or Valle, however you pronounce it yourself. Hi, Joel, thanks for doing this. I'm in the early years of developing a bikini swimwear line. I've been having issues finding and establishing relationships and managing a team that can bring it all together so that I'll have a final product to sell. In the early years of building this, what are the things I can do to help this process? Is it just going out and trying things, or is there an easier path? I'm new to this industry, but I know I can make it successful. Thanks for your tips. I can always share, it's easy for me to share what I've done and what worked. Selling other people's brands initially gave me a great insight into what worked, what didn't work, less of an investment. So for example, the advice I just gave a second ago to Mamita is different. It's the opposite. I'm saying, yeah, go start your own thing, but you have to know the market. But see, Mamita probably does already because she's been buying stuff from China and she's been testing the market and seeing what's out there. She knows what would sell. That's what I did. I started selling from a brand in Mexico and distributing them, going to the Magic Trade Show in Las Vegas. I did the Mode Paris show, or I forget what it's called, La Mode, or whatever it's called, in Paris a couple times. So the first few times around, I sold other people's products and I got to learn the business and I got to see what sells and I got to meet buyers and get accounts. And then I started developing my own brands. So, but you're right, Marcel, it definitely comes down to relationships. You do want to meet the right people. You got to make sure you're sorry about that. You want to make sure you're the right person too, that you're dependable, that you're giving value in conversations that you have with people, so that they'll want to help you. I think one of the worst things is when I speak to college students, which I do a couple times a year. I go to my alma mater and I speak. I put my name on the board, I put my phone number, and I put my email, and I've done this for years. And I say, if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to contact me. And rarely does anyone contact me, but then a lot of people contact me a few weeks before they graduate college. And they tell me, hey, I'm a senior, I'm graduating, I met you 2 years ago, and I'm wondering if you can help me find a job. They want me to help them find a job 2 weeks before or a month before they graduate or whatever, when they could have been grooming the relationships, for 2 years. They could have written me a handwritten note. They could have emailed me an article. They could have called me, texted me. They could have something so that I would want to help them. So, you got to do those sort of things. Otherwise, you're not going to get much help. All right, let's see. My friend Shelly Merrill. If I'm pronouncing, Shelly, I haven't spoken to you on the phone. We've communicated on email, so I don't know if it's Merrill, could be either one of those. So, all right, Shelly. Shelly says, or writes here, I'm in a rebuilding phase. Have you ever needed to go back into a company that began failing after you left? I left it in the wrong hands. Currently working to balance daily operations while implementing new technology and processes. My goal is to remove as much of the human error element as possible. Any suggestions? Yeah. Let's see. You're in a rebuilding phase. You want to fix what went wrong because it was in the wrong hands. Here's one thing I've learned. I had a business coach for years and learned a lot from him, an older gentleman, and I've taken that information and I've put it through testing for years now, and I've seen what works. And he taught me to be slow to hire and quick to fire. If there are doubts and problems, and I don't mean every little doubt that you might have, I mean, it's definitely in the wrong hands, I would be very quick to fire that person and replace them. It's tough right now because the economy is amazing, and unemployment last few months ago that I looked at was like 3.6%. So it may be hard to hire the right person right now because all the good people have jobs already. But I would work on getting rid of that error. Whoever that person is, if they're still around, if they're still touching the business, touching clients, I would find a way to replace them. It may cost you more money, but in the long run, that extra money you pay that right person is going to come back to you many times. Just because someone's cheap doesn't mean they're worth it or they're a good value. So I'd be very careful. If right now you have somebody that you think you should let go, then you're right. You probably should let them go. And we can talk offline about that if I can help you with that. But yeah, I would fix that situation as soon as possible. And then another thing you said when you asked if I've ever needed to go back into a company that began failing after I left. I don't think that I could say that I ever left anything. I may not be working day to day, but I'm present mentally, and I'm looking at numbers, and so I'm aware of what's going on. I recommend not letting things just go away. We've built dashboards in my business, so a few times a day I'll check my phone and I'll see exactly where we are. I can see how many orders went out, how quickly they were done by every single person picking an order. If we have 2 people that day, 3 people, whatever it is, I can see it on the spot live on my phone, and that's just dashboards we've built that work for us. I can also see the sales, so I know what's going on with those key metrics. And then, if people are goofing around in the office, then it's going to show in an hour or whatever, but you have to build it that way. All right, let's see. Gabs, and the last name is a tough one, but I'll assume it's Raise, R-A-C-Z. All right, what are the most important things a welcome? Oh, this one's a tough question. I read this earlier, and honestly, I know I'm in e-commerce. I'm not an expert in this. It's a great question. Let me try to expand it so that I can try to see it here. Sorry, got the questions on my phone. It's just not opening them up for me. Well, I'll read the first part of it, but Gabs is asking, what's the most important things in a welcome email series, in my opinion. So either focus on delivering valuable content, introducing yourself to build a relationship, or maybe start selling as soon as possible. And he goes on, and like I said, it's not letting me see more and open the rest of the question, but what in e-commerce that I do, we're buying businesses that have an established database, so we're just sending emails to existing clients, and then we capture emails as we sell to a new person, or we do any kind of campaign, whether it's through a pop-up that appears on the website when they log in, or through social media. But everything you said on there is great. Do you either focus on delivering valuable content, great thing, introducing yourself to build a relationship, a good thing too, or maybe start selling as soon as possible. I think all of those are fantastic. It depends the industry, the product, the service. Selling as soon as possible, that's great, but if you're in a delicate, long cycle type thing, then no, that wouldn't be the right thing. If it's introducing yourself and building a relationship type of business, then absolutely that's the thing to do. And then as far as delivering valuable content, I don't think you can ever go wrong with that. And giving valuable content is going to keep people engaged. So I recommend always doing that. All right, let's look at Lisa Tosado Filter. Her question is, when your head went swimming with so much to do, not enough time, not enough money, did you do anything else besides a priority list of things to do in order of importance and making money? Okay, so let's see. Well, I think, Lisa, most people are probably in a situation where they feel like, I always hear people say there's never enough money, there's never enough time, and that never goes away. You can start making $2 million a year, $12 million, and whatever you shoot for, because it's a moving target success, you're always going to feel that way. Now, I think it was your question that at the beginning of this session, that's what got me thinking maybe. There's always these issues. You're always going to have these doubts and questions, and what do I do? No matter what, no matter how high you get your business into, or how big you get it. So, but let me try to answer this. As far as making a priority list of things to do, it depends on your situation. If you're trying to get this business to make you enough money to quit a job, if you're trying to get this thing to help you retire, it all depends. If you're trying to make enough money to survive and eat, these are all different situations. So in my situation, and I've mentioned this in a prior video, I grew up really poor and I didn't want to be poor. So there was one thing on my mind. It's what would make me the most money today. I wasn't building a brand. I wasn't building my name. There was no social media back then. I was just building a business. I was just trying to make money. I'll buy this thing for $1 and I'll go sell it for $5. And how many times can I do that? And how quickly can I do that? And then well, putting it away was never a problem for me. I just put it away. And how quickly could I have that go up? Whether it's investing it in an index fund and just leaving it there because I didn't have anything to do with it, or when I was 22 years old and I bought my first house, and that was a great investment for me, and then I bought a few others and those were good investments. Not all of them were good investments, not at all, but so that's it. It's if you need to make money, if that's your biggest thing, then yeah, go make money. I don't know what else there is. If you have this long-term plan, then sure, maybe you're going to sacrifice making some money today to build that long-term plan, then you do that. I think you know what that would take. If you need a coach to bounce that off of, fantastic. But that's a more detailed conversation. But I like that you're thinking about that. That's good. But yeah, never enough time, never enough money. Everybody talks about that. All right, so another question that came in just a few minutes ago is from Nani Bernal. And the question is, did you put the money into the business you saved, or did you just save and then got X amount and invested it in the business? Actually, both of those things. If I saw there was an opportunity, and let's say when my business was very small and I profited $10,000 over a certain period of time, it just went in the bank. And next step was, what's the next opportunity? What am I going to do? I'll tell you what I didn't do. The money did not go to blow it. It didn't go to be honest, not even to enjoy it. I really didn't. I was a sacrificer in the very beginning. So I don't recommend doing that forever. I don't do that anymore. I really enjoy myself. But in the beginning, when you're trying to build something, you do things like the first questions. The young lady who is considering whether she takes an apartment, uses her business as a loft upstairs just to save a ton of money. Fantastic. Look, let me tell you, and I'll get back to that, Nanny, but I have a friend who has a production studio in Hollywood, California, and he made like in a top magazine. He was named one of the top entrepreneurs in the country. That guy, his parents lived. He wasn't born in the U.S. Came as an immigrant when he was a kid, and lived in a mobile home park. And his parents still live in one. But that guy built this studio out of getting little jobs. I actually sent him. I think I was his first customer, and then I sent him a few friends who were their next customers. And so he built this business. But that guy slept on the couch in the studio. That guy did all the work. He swept the floors. He started hiring people, and now he's kind of on autopilot. And he's still a very young guy, and he got things going. So to answer Nanny's question, did I just save money in the business, or was it personal investments? I did both. At 22 years old, I mentioned I bought my first house. One of the best things I could have ever done, because I took the master bedroom for myself. I rented out the other 2 bedrooms. That paid my mortgage. I had a full-time job, a horrible job that I absolutely hated, working in a cubicle at an insurance company in LA when I was 22. But then on the weekends, I did flea markets. At night, I did eBay, and then I stopped doing flea markets. And then I got a part-time job tutoring an old man on how to use the internet back in the 90s. Whatever it was, I just kept putting money in and looking for opportunities. So then an opportunity came to, hey, I can buy more products. Good, I have the money there. I can buy another rental. Now I can buy more rental properties because I have all this money here. But it just went from that. So I think that right there should answer a lot of questions about whether you're an investor, whether you save it for this or that. Save up your money and look for opportunities. They might be in your business. They might not be in your business. It might be personal. Or guess what? They might be in something that's not your business at all, but the opportunity comes by and you don't want to pass it up. And I heard one time years ago on Shark Tank, Mark Cuban mention, I think that's where I heard him say it, or maybe on a YouTube video, that he keeps a ton of cash on hand. Obviously, it's Mark Cuban, he's a billionaire, but he keeps a lot of cash on hand, just waiting to seize an opportunity. There may be an opportunity. It's a long-term play, but I'm nobody to predict when things will happen. Nobody is. But a lot of articles that I read say that in the next 18 months or so, we're due for a recession potentially, right? So stock market may come down, housing market may come down, and there's going to be buying opportunities. So I think it's Warren Buffett said that when everybody's being greedy, you should become careful and step away. And when everybody's scared and running away, that's when you should be greedy and go in. So I'm saving for that. I want to deploy cash as soon as the market crashes in both real estate and stock market. But those are long-term plays. Those aren't quick fixes and flips and turnarounds. Those are things that I want to hold for a few years or hold forever potentially. Ideally forever, but just build wealth. So everything comes at a different situation wherever you are in your life. So I hope this stuff has helped. I appreciate you guys asking the questions, and I hope it brings value. That's why I do this. Sean asked me to volunteer to do this, and my biggest takeaway is that I hope that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, one of you just writes me back and says, hey, I want you to know that I was here when I first heard you speak, and I took 1 or 2 little things, and I'm way up here. That would bring me a tremendous amount of joy. So I read an article years ago that the biggest reward that successful people have when they're on their deathbed or they're very old is that they had a positive impact mentoring people and getting them to the next level. So ever since I read that article, it made me realize that that's something that I'm interested in doing. I hope you guys have a great day. I am working on very little sleep from just getting off a cruise earlier today. So I think we answered all the questions, and if anything's unclear or you want to contact me directly, feel free to do so. Hope you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.